Hello everybody and welcome to Greg's Vintage Workshop. We're working to store history one piece at a time. Tonight we're going to be looking again at the 1935 Grunow 1151-11B 11 tube console radio. Now tonight we're going to be doing part 3, and in part 3 I'm going to be working on the tuner indicator mechanism. The mechanical, like a planetary mechanism in there that links everything together so that when you turn the knob it rotates the tuning condenser. Now, I'm not sure if that was a belt or what it was in there because it was missing, but anyway I'm going to take that all apart, I'm going to clean it up, see if I can figure out what I got to do to make it work again, get that taken care of. I'm also going to come up with a replacement for the missing big tall filter condenser can on the outside of the chassis there. And then finally I'm also printing some knobs for the radio because they were all missing when I bought it and they seem to be unobtainium, so I'm going to take my shot at trying to make my own. So without further ado, let's get started with that. Okay, so I just pulled the outer needle off indicator. It's pretty cool actually. I don't know why you're going to see that, but that's a turn it like this where you can see it. That's the letter B for broadcast, C and D. Not sure what those stand for. We'll have to get it figured out. But I'm taking it off not because I want to do anything with this right here, but I got to try and get into that back mechanism. And when I pulled the screw out, tried to pull this off, it likes trying to pull that with it, and I can't see what's in there. So versus breaking it, I'm going to pull it out, pull this off, and see what we got. So this piece up here was already broken. I'm trying to not break it off, hoping I can glue it back. Trying to not break these off. I just got through straightening that one, so I should be able to get that side off. I'm hoping if I get the two sides loose, if I get these two sides straightened out, then I can possibly get the bottom out without having to straighten those out. But I don't know. I don't want to break these tabs off, and I don't want to break the indicator off. Or the dial assembly. I don't want to break these don't break the tabs off, and I don't want to split the plastic any worse than it's already split. This tab piece that's broke up here is not seen once it's in the radio, but just the same, I don't want to break anything. There's that one. There we go. Now, I guess I'm still going to have to bend those up a little bit. It looks to me like hearing a banging outside. I have no idea what that is. Sounds like somebody blowing fireworks. And here we are in December, so I'm not quite sure what's going on out there. I'm hoping if I get one of these off, like that maybe the other one will come out. That's coming out, but it's long. I'm going to have to bend this one on up to get this off. This is very brittle, obviously, because it's as old as it is. Alright. You guys seen that? You guys hear that? Sounds like fireworks going off out there. Oh my goodness. July 3rd and people blowing fireworks. Ridiculous. Okay, I got that off. Looks like the only piece that's cracked is right here. So I'll have to Try and glue that back. I think it fell on, hit the floor. Let's see if I can find it. I know the other piece did hit the floor for sure. And it bent the thingy, so I'll have to fix that. But at least we got this gear out. Alright, I got you guys off of the tripod so I can show you what this is. This gear actually has a taper on it, if you can see that. And it goes and engages in the gears in the back. Right through there. So if I slide this thing on the shaft, hopefully you guys are catching this. Well, obviously you're not. Let me back out a little bit because I think I'm in too close. Alright, so this slides in here. And if we can get down inside there, you'll see it come in. There it coming in. But it has to engage in them gears down there just right. And then it faces into a taper. Just can slightly see that brass taper in there. Probably not enough light, but you might catch that brass taper that's in there. Anyway, I'm not planning on pulling all this apart, but I am going to try and clean it and lubricate it. And of course clean in here so the light comes through on the diffuser. So I'm going to take this off and try and clean this all up. This looks like just 3 screws. I don't know how this thing had, there was no string. There's no string on here. I know that it wraps around that and that's what you turn. But I'm thinking an O-ring on that shaft might do it if I can get enough tension on it, because this is grooved a little bit. There's no spring. There's no place to hook a spring that I can see. Get the light out of the way so I can see. I could probably hook a spring somehow in there and use regular dial cord, dial string. That might be where the spring hooks, right there. Although I'd have to wrap around that. You have to wrap around that hub in order to do it. I don't know. Let me look at this a little closer. I'm going to clean those gears up and lubricate them, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do for a dial cord. I am going to take that off and try and get that clean. Now this screw is on a slot because the gear is back here, is attached to this plate, which I'll show you here in a second when I get it off. So you can adjust how tight it is into the gear that it's driving. There, give you an idea. You pivot up, there's the gear. So this is going to allow me to clean all that really well. There it is. It's 2 gears actually, and there's a spring in the middle there. Apparently to give you some better engagement. Alright. So that allows me to get to that one to clean a little bit better. But I'm not taking that off. We'll just have to clean it as best we can. I'll bring it back when I got something good to show you as far as cleaning. Okay, so I got that all cleaned up and in pretty good shape in there. I got the wheel cleaned up. Got everything cleaned up in there as good as it's going to get. Got that all cleaned up. I got the parts all cleaned up, so let's take a look at that. So here's all the parts, and they're all cleaned up. I soaked them overnight in an alcohol solution and then finished cleaning them up this morning. Boy, there was a lot of very hard dried grease in there. So I'm getting ready to do a time lapse putting this back together again. There's a lot of little parts in there, so hopefully we can get this thing back together again right. So we'll start the time lapse with a little music now. Okay, so the way this works is when you spin it right here, it's going through the ball bearings and spins it slower on the shaft back here. When you push it in like that, it engages the entire works and spins it much faster. So now it's working good, feels great. It's very smooth. It's going to be perfect. Now all I got to do is figure out the drive belt situation. I'm going to see if I can do a little bit of research and see what it should be. Because right now I'm not sure what it should be. Okay, so the next piece we had is this gear here, which also cleaned up very nice. Spins really well now. Cleaned all the crapped out grease from out there. You see there's a spring in there. The reason there's a spring in there is this is actually two separate gears. You see what I'm doing there? I'm twisting it, compressing that spring. It's a dampening effect, I think. Not positive, but something to take out backlash, I have a feeling. Let me put some lubricant on here and we'll get this back in place. Okay, so I put just a dab of grease on that gear and a little bit on the bigger gear. I don't know that it necessarily needs any, but I decided to put some in there. I think the main thing was to make sure that the gears were not stuck together, and you know, these big ones with the spring, and they were, and now they're not. So I think that and everything's well lubricated, so I think that that's good. I think what we'll do is we'll get this snugged up on the one side here, and then we're going to go ahead and let that engage and tighten that down. I mean, I see the small gear driving the big gear down here, but I'm not sure what this top gear does. I'm not quite sure if something's missing or what the deal is, but all I need to know is if I can couple this with that, we'll be in good shape. Let me see what I can find online. Okay, so I've done a little bit of research, and from what I can figure out, there's supposed to be a belt. Not a cord, but a belt of some sort. So I think what I'm going to do is use O-ring material in either 1/8 inch or 3/16 inch. And I've ordered some of that up. They should be here today. But I think to try and run it on the actual 1/4 inch shaft that's metal, since it's O-ring material and not a belt, I don't think it'll get good enough grip. I think it'll just spin on that. It should seat fine in this because there's a groove. So I'm printing some pulleys that I designed last night. Well, a pulley. I'm just printing multiples of it in case I break it installing it. I got to press it on there. But we'll get the pulleys made, and then I'll get one installed, and I'll hopefully when my material comes I will make a belt for it, and we'll see how that turns out. Okay, so there's my 6 pulleys, 3 for 1/8 inch belt and 3 for 3/16 inch belt. So I'm going to get them off there and see if we can get one of them put on that shaft. Okay, so I got the drive belt on there and it's working pretty good. The knob's loose on here because I don't have it tightened down. This is actually an AK knob, but no, it works good. I actually have created some Grunow knobs on TinkerCad based on a photo that I had. I can't find any knobs anywhere, so I decided to create my own. So that's what's printing on the printer right now, is some knobs. Okay, so maybe this is just being petty or something, but the fact that this second electrolytic, the 8 microfarad electrolytic, was missing and there's a hole here, I was just going to put like a cap over it, like one of those metal caps that they sell. And then I decided, no, I want it to look kind of similar, kind of the same height and stuff. And so I was like, well, how can I make one of these easily? And yes, I could go to the store and buy probably some sort of, I don't know, sink pipe or something that would be close to that, but I don't want to spend any money on it. So what can I use that I've got handy? So this is what I come up with. I had this old 2000 microfarad electrolytic that I cut everything off the bottom of it, and it's actually the same exact diameter as this one. And I figure that if I drill a hole right here in the center and run a screw up from the bottom, I've got this recessed plate that I can put on the other side like that and draw it down tight. I think I'm going to do that. And then I had another one that I cut the bottom part off of and took the guts out of it, and it actually can sit right on there pretty perfect. And yeah, there's a seam right in the center, and it is about maybe a 1/16 of an inch higher, and obviously it looks a little bit different, but these two electrolytics are different part numbers anyway. When you look at the part group, there's a different part number for one versus the other. So I'm not trying to make it look authentic. Obviously it's not going to look authentic, and you can see the ridge around the bottom, and obviously there's going to be a seam, which I could wrap a piece of metal tape around it, but then you're going to see the edges of the metal tape anyway. So I'm thinking I'm just going to do this, and the way I'm going to attach this is I'm printing out a 33 millimeter plug, basically about 30 millimeter, 25 millimeters tall, that I'll glue to the top of this one and slide this one over the top of it and put a little, a little glue on it once I slide it on, and it'll be like that. A closer look be something like that. And I don't think it's going to look too bad, actually. And it'll cover that hole, and then we'll have that. For now, I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so what I did was I printed this insert, 33 millimeters, and it was a little too loose. So I printed the one that's in here at 33 3/4 millimeters, and it's perfect. I mean, I had to push it in, but it's loose enough it didn't expand everything. And now I can put it on here, and I put it on there with some super glue gel, because it should glue to the metal with no problem. I brushed it up a little bit, cleaned it really well, and then to the plastic it should glue fine. So we'll do this, and I'll bring it back. Well, there it is. I think it turned out good. And yeah, you see it, but it's flush all the way around. No excessive gap. And once it's in there, I think it'll look fine. And get it installed. Alright, here it failed partially through the print. The raft I had it on popped loose. Just like that. That popped loose out of my hand. And I've got the D. I had to upsize that a little bit. That was too small. But yeah, so we'll see how these knobs turn out. So as you guys know, this radio had no knobs on it when I bought it, and I could only find one picture online that showed the knobs, and I don't even know if they were original, so I just decided to create my own knobs. So I 3D printed knobs today. So if we look at these, they basically all are kind of the same pattern, although the selector switch is a little bit different, because on the selector switch I've got the pointer on it, and this one is bigger than these two because according to what I saw in the part numbers, these two had the same part number, and this one was slightly bigger and had a different part number for the on-off switch. So basically the same design on each of them. I guess I didn't show you that when I was looking at this one. This is the one that's bigger. I think so. Swivels. Here we go. This is the one that's bigger. And this is the one for the dial drive. selector switch, and then the tone control. So anyway, I thought that they turned out pretty good. I was pretty happy with them. I designed them on TinkerCAD, and they got a little more design to them that meets the eye, but yeah, I think they're going to do good. I very well may paint them so that they're a little bit darker, but I'll see what they look like once I get it all together. But I'm happy with them. They turned out much better than I thought they would.